Today on Isolation Nation, Asante Haughton, a poet with a message.
I ask for better days, but my wish is hollow. No answer ever follows. Bitter regret and sorrow is too much to swallow.
And Michael Del Zotto, straight from the Sport Check floor.
Hi, how are you? I'm Michael. Welcome to Sport Check.
To us at Isolation Nation. Okay, maybe he made a stop at the National Hockey League.
Back out Del Zotto. Winds, fires, and scores!
And she's back.
I'm Cindy Duplantis, and have you tried to cut your own hair and it looks terrible? Well, let me help you. I got some tips for you later on.
She's here all week long showing us how not to ruin our hair during this pandemic. Well, Michael Del Zotto, that's a guy in love with his hair. How's the hair looking, Michael?
I'm doing my best. Looking pretty good right now. It's probably the first time I've fixed my hair in a week or so, but I'd give it about a 9.8 out of 10.
Okay, that's your call, but let's go to the only judge that really counts. The hair goat.
The goat. What does he know about hair?
Hey, the goat calls it as he sees it. Let's go to Cindy. Maybe she can help.
If all else fails, you're really struggling with your hair, how about a nice chapeau?
Dealing with a bunch of hair experts. Look at them and look at me.
Let's go back to the hair goat and find out if he wants to reconsider. Hair goat?
I've had enough of you, goat. I'll see you in the corners once hockey's back on.
One more time? I think it's final.
You know, I guess I just have to say I'm infatuated by the GOAT and the scream of the GOAT. And I'm going to work my hardest to work the GOAT in everywhere and every way I can. Michael Del Zotto, how are you, man?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. You're a busy man, even though you're a professional hockey player during a pandemic where obviously you're at home. But I got to know you, I guess, about a month ago through Carlo Koliakovo, and we kind of bonded. And I want to talk about some of the things that you're up to. You're very in tune with charity. So let's dive right in with something that is probably not what you're accustomed to, and that is the idea of talking about mental health, because that's what this show, besides putting goats screaming on, we're also most of all about mental health, and especially during this pandemic. So I would say to you, first and foremost, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. As the weeks go by, it certainly gets tougher and tougher to kind of wake up and have that sense of purpose. Usually we're waking up, training and going to the rink and understanding what's going on for the rest of the day. And right now there's just a ton of uncertainty. And that's the biggest thing that I struggle with is I'm very much a planner. I like looking ahead. I like having an idea of what's going on that day, that week, that month. And the uncertainty is definitely makes me feel a little uneasy. So each week I'm trying to find something new to, keep myself occupied, busy, excited. This past week, I started volunteering at the local food bank in Etobicoke here with Daily Bread. And that's something that's given me a lot of joy, to be able to be in a warehouse full of so many selfless people who are passionate about giving back to those in need. That's really been inspiring for me.
You've been in the NHL since, weren't you like the youngest New York Ranger ever? Am I right when I say that? Do I remember that, or am I just making it up?
Yeah, youngest Rangers defenseman in opening lineup, I believe. Yeah.
Right. That's why you told me minutes before we went on, you said, I'm better than Brian Leach. you said that. And I didn't argue with you because far be it for me to argue with you. But so you've been in the NHL since you were 18. So we're talking a decade now, right?
Yeah, I just finished. Depends what happens this season. 11 years now.
So let's, the topic is mental health. And one of the places that mental health has had a really difficult time being exposed in has been the dressing room, right? I mean, Wade Belak was my buddy, and obviously he died in 2011. It's just the kind of place where people are deadly afraid to be perceived as weak, even though the name of our charity is Sick Not Weak. Still, the majority of Canadians believe that mental illness is a weakness rather than a sickness. Have you seen a change over the last decade? Do you think people are more free and open than they were?
Yes and no. I think the culture of the game has definitely changed a lot, where at least when I came in, everything had to be earned as opposed to given, whereas things are handed a little bit easier to the younger players now. But within the culture of the game, it is something that's kind of frowned upon to be a little bit weak, as you're bred to be warriors and you're supposed to be this macho, tough athlete who's playing a physical sport, and the only sport other than UFC to have fighting, I guess, allowed. And it's not always easy going into every day knowing that you have to put your anxiety, your differences, your mental health issues aside, because you have to be there for your teammates and your organization trying to ultimately win a game, and that seems to have more importance than mental well-being.
So you're currently playing for the Ducks, and when I say currently, obviously, pending the pandemic and whether the season comes back. If you were battling something that was more than just a little hiccup in your life, let's say, because Asante Haughton's going to join us, and we were talking before we came on the air. Here's a guy that's suffered from very severe depression at times and is currently suffering from anxiety through this pandemic. So if you were really suffering, and my biggest challenge has been depression, could you say in the locker room of the Ducks or the Blues or the Rangers or the Canucks, could you say, hey guys, I just want to let you know I'm going through a really tough time?
I think in a small group of people or to trusted teammates or staff, yes. As far as a whole locker room, I'm not sure how that would be taken by everyone, to be quite honest with you. And I think that is a little bit of the issue. Some of it I know personally, I've dealt with a lot of ups and downs in my career. And there's been times where I've considered retiring, I've considered quitting hockey, moving on to something else, just because the stress of it, the lack of respect, accountability, these things that these values that have been instilled in me at such a young age from having being so lucky to have such great parents, has really taken a toll on me. And I've gone, to the dark side many times. And I'm thankful for having such a great support staff in my family that's been there for me every step of the way. And I think personally, I've just learned to deal with these hard times. And every time I've dealt with some sort of adversity, I've come out on top. And I think having that past experience has allowed me to conquer the new adversity as well, and knowing that if I continue to put the work in and do the right things day in and day out, I will overcome it, and it'll feel that much sweeter when that happens.
So I'm interested in you were talking about difficulties, which, I mean, in your workplace, right? I mean, people don't typically talk about professional sports as being the workplace, but that's what it is for you, right? And the inability to necessarily be open and honest is prevalent in many, many workplaces. Like I hear from people all the time who say, I just can't tell my boss. I'm too afraid what my boss and my coworkers will think. So I think it's really powerful for you to be talking about that within the scope of your workplace and how you've had to battle through the urge, perhaps to move on to something else.
Yeah, I kind of dealt with it really early on too. I had, when I was 19 years old, my first year in New York, or my first 4 years, I had John Tortorella, who is everyone knows as this really tough coach, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. And as tough as it was at the time, looking back though, I really did appreciate and do appreciate today the lessons that he taught me, because it's allowed me to grow thicker skin, and has allowed me to endure so many tougher scenarios and deal with them with a smile on my face, and realize that as tough as they may seem at the time, they really are minuscule issues as to what else is out there in the world today. So I guess my advice to some people is sometimes when you're going through a tough time, is maybe just take a step back and look at the bigger picture. And that's part of maturing. I was 19 years old and I didn't really know how to do it at the time. And there was times where I definitely resented him, but now turning 30 years old next month, I'd play for John Tortorella any day of the week. And I would love to have him as my coach again. He's taught me so much, not just about hockey, but life lessons. He's really matured me at such a young age, and I have him to thank for a lot of my success.
Now you're obviously into music, right? You DJ MDZ, I believe is your DJ
Correct.
handle. I have yet to get a DJ handle. I'm more of a rapper than a DJ, just so you know. And I would like to, even though this is pretty far away from that, this is some good Italian music, I believe, sung to you by Sean Cullen. So we'll leave you on camera, and you feel free to react in any way. Phil,
boy,
let's roll it.
Hello, Michael. It's Sean. How are you? You look
Sean.
great, but not as great as Michael Del Zotto. Del Zotto, Del Zotto. We all love Michael Del Zotto. He plays the guitar and cooks, and the girls love his good looks. Del Zotto, Del Zotto. He was a close friend of Meghan Markle, and how he made her eyes sparkle. That devil Michael Del Zotto. Del Zotto, Del Zotto. He won the cup with the Blues, but they've traded him. What a thing to do. Oh, Del Zotto, we love you. Oh, Del Zotto, Del Zotto. He's got a big heart, and he works at the food bank all day. I wish that's something I could say. Oh, Del Zotto, Del Zotto. I wish I was Michael Del Zotto with his scruffy little beard. I think this is getting kind of weird. Oh, Del Zotto, Del Zotto. We all love Michael Del Zotto. He's with you on the show, and I thought he'd like to know that I love him so. Oh, Michael Del Zotto. Michael Del Zotto.
I might have to hire him to be my agent after that. I might take him to negotiations with me this summer.
You know, he's just funny as hell. Like he's been doing a song for us. First of all, he wrote one about Isolation Nation, which I can't get the tune out of my head, except when he does a new tune. And then he did one for Serena Ryder last week. Yesterday, Case, who was it for yesterday? Who did he sing the song for?
George LaRock.
Oh, George LaRock. He did
Nice.
this song for George LaRock, and it was awesome. So, good for him, and good for you, and good for Asante Haughton. Thanks for joining us. Say hi to Michael Del Zotto.
Hey, Michael, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. Coming to you from downtown Toronto.
Nice, and I think Del Zotto is also in the vicinity, not downtown Toronto. One day, though, he's hoping and aspires to be in downtown Toronto. Good luck with that, by the way, Michael. What did you think, Santi, of Michael's story, talking about his ups and downs throughout his career?
In a lot of ways I could relate to it because I grew up a little bit. I mean, obviously I'm not a pro athlete, but I grew up playing a lot of sports, baseball, soccer, basketball. And just that culture of having to put on a face and be tough and be the tough guy sometimes, right? Especially when, you're the captain of the team or something like that. A lot of guys are depending on you to hold it together. But, deep down, that there's a lot going on.
Let me tell folks who you are. Asante is the peer development and training manager at Stylist Place, Toronto-based youth mental health facility that serves folks from, I guess, teenagers to about 29. I've been at all kinds of events with them. It's an amazing cause. And you're a mental health talker, right? I know the word advocate, I use it to describe myself sometime, but I'm not 100% sure what we're advocating for. You're a talker, you're a sharer, right? And you use the power of your story to help others understand themselves better and feel better about themselves. Is that correct?
That's exactly it. Growing up, dealing with severe depression, severe anxiety, I didn't know what the hell was going on with me for about 7 or 8 years. And it was just really tough. And so for me, I think about who I was when I was 16 And I don't want any kid, out there to ever kind of deal with that level of confusion and suffering that I was dealing with.
See, that is, I mean, I think that's at the heart of it. A lot of really good deeds begin with, I don't want others to go through the same thing. Michael, if you were trying to impart into a young hockey player advice on handling the things that you struggled with, what would you say?
I'd say find help. Talk to someone who you trust. I think family is definitely the easiest or the best support system. And then some of it also is again, like I mentioned before, is taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. I think the problem with our sport, especially at a young age, if you get sat one game or you have one bad game, you seem to think that the world is crumbling and there's no end in sight, where realistically that's one day. It's one bad game or one day that you may not be playing, and you don't realize how much life there is to live. And I think the biggest thing overall, again, looking at the bigger picture and what I'm starting to realize as I get older is, most hockey players, most athletes, you're lucky to play till you're 35. But what you don't realize when you're in the sport is you have, hopefully, knock on wood, everything goes well, you have more than half your life still to live. And hockey isn't everything. And I think that's the biggest lesson that biggest advice I would give to any athlete or young hockey player coming in is hockey, yes, is your job and your sport and your passion, but there's a lot more out there than hockey, and a lot more important things for sure than just your sport. And that goes for any job, not just being an athlete.
Asante, I obviously we agree with him. When I say we, I mean you and I, who are mental health advocates, and in my case, not much more. That's when you're supposed to jump in and say, "Oh no, Michael, don't be silly." But we'll just move past that, plow past that, and tell us now how you're doing right now in this time, in this pandemic time, in this time where the world has changed so much. Our lives are on hold. Tell us.
Well, I'd love to say I'm doing great, but that wouldn't be the truth. I've been really struggling with anxiety for essentially the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Started at the beginning of April when I started having symptoms for the new coronavirus. And so that kind of knocked me down for a couple of weeks. And I've been struggling with anxiety all my life, and just the added sense of not knowing what this virus is, how it reacts with your body, what the outcome is going to be. We don't know when we're going to be able to go outside just normally again. It's definitely created a lot of anxiety for me.
Yeah. Did you have the virus, or were you ever tested?
I was never actually tested, but I was a probable case, and I did some contact tracing, so I very likely had it. Others in my family picked it up from me within the household. So,
oh no, really?
Yeah, but everyone is okay now. I'm just happy to say everyone's okay now, but created a lot of anxiety for sure for me. Because first of all, I was reading everything there was about COVID prior to getting sick, right? Because part of my job is just supporting young people with their mental health challenges. So I was trying to help other people allay their anxiety by providing accurate information to them. And then I had all the information about, at least what we know about it, about what I eventually ended up having, which was not necessarily a good situation for my own mental health.
No, I mean, knowledge is a good thing, but too much knowledge, sometimes you wish that there were secrets that were kept from you, especially when you realize just how devastating this illness can be for some people. And, thank God that in your case, you're alive and well, and it sounds like your family, they're all doing well. Michael, you know anybody with the illness? Have you been touched by it in any way indirectly?
No, knock on wood again. No one that's been involved with it directly. Thankfully, no deaths either. And I hope it stays that way. And for both of you as well, I hope obviously your loved ones stay safe as well, because it's a scary time.
So I'm looking, this is your house in Toronto, right?
My house in Etobicoke, yes.
Right. And I'm looking, and it seems like incredibly clean and organized. I'm guessing you are a really clean and organized guy. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, very clean, borderline OCD for sure.
Let's talk more about OCD. I mean, that is, most times when people say they're borderline OCD or they think they might be depressed or they think they may have anxiety, most of the time they actually do. It's like people say to me all the time, and I'm sure that you would hear the same thing, Asante. People say, how do I know if I'm depressed, the illness, or depressed, just having a bad day, or anxiety? And actually, it doesn't apply as much for OCD because we all have sort of elements of it, but continue, Michael.
I like having a clean place. I just feel better about myself throughout the day, knowing that I'm coming home or leaving from a clean house. I hate mess. I actually read this great book. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's called Make Your Bed. And it's actually phenomenal. Something so small that can change your whole day. It talks about as soon as you wake up in the morning, it's about, SEAL Team 6 and the Navy SEALs. As soon as you wake up in the morning, their bed gets inspected. So it may seem like such a small task, but as soon as you wake up in the morning, knowing that you made your bed, and for them, it gets inspected and a little bit more strict than it would be for me, and I have no one to inspect it. But just making your bed is one small task that you've accomplished to start your day, and allows you to go on with your day knowing that you started off on a positive note.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, but also I've never heard, you just said something I've never heard a hockey player say before, which was, I read a book that said, well, who knew that hockey player out there existed? Asante, you're a Raptors fan, right?
Big Raptors fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm stereotyping you and saying, oh, he's a black guy, so he must be a Raptors fan. But I read in your bio that you're a Raptors fan.
Huge. I was at game 1 of the finals last year, so.
I was there too. Game 1 against Golden State.
Yeah, of course.
Patrick McCaw hit that 3, the only thing he did, and he's now got 3 rings. And Charles Barkley played all those years and has none. I may be slightly off topic right now, but what an experience. And do you know that it was exactly a year ago that they beat the 76ers on the shot?
The shot. Yeah, man. I was watching right here behind me on this, well, it used to be a smaller TV, but me and my friends were huddled around and 4 bounces. What else can you say?
Yeah, that was insane. It really was like that. Those 4 bounces on the rim will sort of live for eternity in all of our minds, and they seemed like an eternity. So, being a Raps fan, what did you think when you heard that DeMar DeRozan had at times suffered from depression?
Oh man, I was like, thank God someone finally is talking about this. I know Kevin Love kind of talked a little bit about the anxiety piece, but then DeMar came out and he was very forthright about his challenges. And I was like, thank you that an athlete is finally, out there talking about this, a black athlete, a male athlete. It really meant a lot to me because I know that, with my teammates growing up, I couldn't say anything about what I was going through. So it was really dope that he came out and he said that.
Now, would you use the same word? Because you use the word dope all the time, right, Michael? Really dope last year when the Raptors won. Were you following that last year, Michael?
Yeah, being from Toronto, I'm still a Toronto sports fan. And even if I'm not winning, I still cheer for the Leafs.
Really?
It's been suffering for sure, a lot of suffering. But yeah, I cheer for all the Toronto sports teams, and then wherever I play, I typically cheer for that football team as well. So that's kind of been my thing. Whenever I play somewhere in the States, whatever the football team is there, I cheer for them. It's, you get to know some of the guys and you have a little bit of invested interest in their games.
Your dad played in the CFL, right?
No, he did not. I don't know who put that on Wikipedia. It's a great stat that we give him a hard time about. No, there's no football in our blood.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
sorry to burst your bubble. We could talk about football if you want, but my dad never played in the CFL, so just wanted to talk about.
Okay. Well, I was, I mean, you have nothing for us if your dad didn't play in the CFL. I was brought up on the Argos, by the way. Like in my house growing up, the Argos and the Leafs were everything. More so the Argos, and there's not a lot of guys I think that actually can say that. But would you want to play for the Leafs?
100%. Yeah, I would love to. Early on in my career, probably not, which I think a lot of guys would have that same answer just because Toronto is the hockey mecca of the world. And with how crazy the media is here. You know, you win a couple games and you feel like you're the prime minister and you can get away with anything and you're just treated like a king. And then you lose a game and all of a sudden, again, the world is falling down and everyone's going to get traded and this and that. You're going to get sent down. And it's just all panic. So early on in my career, no. Now, 100%. I played in big markets, and now having a home here as well. This is home for me. Cheering for them since I was a kid. Anyone who's from Toronto and says they wouldn't want to play for the Leafs, I think would be lying to you. That's a dream come true. And then with obviously their situation and what they're looking for, it would be a great fit. Can play all situations, can play both sides. I think that's for you, or maybe I'll get Sean to sing that song there and talk to Dubas and see if he can convince him.
Yeah, send it to Kyle Dubas for sure. As a member of the Toronto media, I think it's my responsibility to say these words. You know, Del Zotto is playing really crappy right now. Seriously, what is with that guy? Hello, your man in front of the net. You're just standing there watching him. It's like, oh my God, pick him up, cover your. Sorry,
is that Del Zotto or Gardner you're still talking about?
No, that was actually Barry. Tyson Perry.
Yeah. Okay, a little more recent. I got you.
What was your sport growing up, Asante?
I was into everything, man. I followed every sport. I actually really wanted to play hockey. I just could never afford it. So anytime we played street hockey, I was the guy with the goalie pads, and I was looking up to Belfour and Hasek, and those were kind of my guys, right? Play basketball, obviously. I'm 6'4" and I'm black, so they kind of forced me into it. Not a choice. Played a lot of baseball. My favorite player growing up was, first Robbie Alomar, and then it became Roy Halladay. NFL, Cowboys fan since I was yay high. So all of it, tennis, all of it.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by guys' histories and the sports they played and the way they perceived themselves. Michael, at the time, did you love playing for John Tortorella, or with age has wisdom sort of shown you that, maybe there was method to his madness?
There was. At the time, I just didn't see it. More so the first year or two. And then when Brad Richards had come in and mentored me a little bit, he really helped me understand Torts, because he had him from years and years before when they won the Cup in Tampa. And Torts just instilled values in me where it wasn't just about points. And he taught me how to win and how to do the little things to win. And it was about the culture of the team. And it didn't matter if you made $1 million, $10 million, 35, 19, if you or to give the team the best opportunity to win, and you're going to do the right things and create this culture where the team would do absolutely anything for each other. This brotherhood that I think the league has lost quite a bit of that, to be honest with you. I didn't understand that coming into the league, and I wish I did beforehand, but I certainly did once a year went by with Torts, and he wore his heart on his sleeve. And I think what people don't understand about him is he's just as passionate as the players. He wants to win. He cares about the players, and sometimes maybe his messaging might be a little bit harsh. But I can promise you that after that first time that he gets into your ear, you're probably not going to make that same mistake again.
Right. I mean, I see him a little bit of a different way, because he's not a fan of the media. And as a result, he may treat you, or he would have treated you very differently than he would have treated people in the media. But I certainly respect saying that a guy taught me a lot. Okay, let's get some tips on hair. Like, Michael, I know you're very proud of your hair right now, but we decided that we had to find someone to guide us through this pandemic, because you can't go out and get your hair cut unless you live in Atlanta, Georgia. Then you could do that and go bowling and get a tattoo and get your nails done. But Asante, your hair looks good. I'm sure it's a lot longer than it was when the pandemic started, right?
Hell yeah. Definitely. I had it like kind of a little long before the pandemic started. Then after that, I was like, man, let me just grow it out and see what happens. I've never done this before, so I didn't know what was going to happen, but I think it's working for me.
Okay. Well, yesterday we heard from Cindy for the first time. Today, it's episode number 2, where she talks about what to do if you cut your own hair. Roll it, Phil.
Pandemic Survival, a limited How Not To series from Isolation Nation. This week, how not to get these reactions to your hair.
All the folks between it, this is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world of the humanity.
Let's sum up episode number 1 with one word. Hey, Cindy, what do you think about me cutting my own hair? Should I do that?
No.
No! All right, that's pretty simple. So let's take 2 different cases. Somebody who has already done that.
Okay.
And if you were looking at someone who had done it, what do you think the biggest problem you would see would be?
So there's a couple things. If it's somebody who has long hair and they really butchered the ends and it's not straight, then your best cover up is just to be able to put your hair back. Leave it until you get back into the salon. That's number 1. If you've gone down the route of your hair is short and you've actually tried to cut into it and it's shaved in a couple spots or anything, if it's really ridiculous, then I think it's time for the hat.
And my hair's blowing around and it's mine.
Okay, well, a hat seems kind of like you've just written it off, right?
That's
You've given
last
up.
resort.
Right, but there's got to be other things that you can do, right? To just like without actually putting a scissors to your hair or a razor to your hair after you've made the mistake. There must be some things that you could do, right?
Yeah, no, you can definitely use product. So you can run, usually what happens, it's all about the unevenness. So you can use product to help bring out any hair over top of the lines that you could have created that are too heavy or that are a little bit choppy. That would definitely help out a lot.
What do you do if you're somebody that you find that your hair is too frizzy, too curly, and it's just been too long since you were in a salon to get that taken care of?
So I have a lot of people asking me about that right now. And the best thing to do is using product, because even though your hair is getting long and curly, you can definitely use something to help bring down the frizz. Number 1 is moisture. Anybody who has thick curly hair, their hair is lacking moisture. So you want to be able to use something that has a high amount of moisture in there.
And now the fireworks are going off. The confetti is on the field.
Next is using a heavy duty product. If your hair is shorter, like yourself, you would do really well with something like this. And it's a cream where you can just slick it back. And you know what? And here's our girl, Erin here. She's kind of sporting an easy look. You can never go wrong with just putting your hair back out of your face.
Right, but we did establish the fact before we went on that Erin is a name that is not gender specific, because to me, that could be a man or a woman. So it's
True.
2020 here.
Yes.
Cindy. So our mannequin is actually not a mannequin. It's a gender is neutral again. And as a result, that's why we're going with Erin. All right, next time, I'm going to ask you the key question. Could I actually shave it all off? Or could I shave it almost all off and leave a little bit? Is that an option? Do not answer now. Answer tomorrow. Cool? You just never know where the goat is going to pop up. As we wrap this up, let's play a little game. I mean, we didn't talk about this in advance, but Del Zotto, I got confidence that you could do what it is I want to do. Why don't you take the attitude that you don't believe that mental illness is actually a weakness? I'd like you to throw things out to Asante, accuse him in a certain way of, come on, is depression real or anxiety? And I want to hear how he responds. So I know you've given us a really enlightened look. Now I want to hear you sort of challenge him and see how he responds.
It could be any situation. Should I relate it to sports then, just for
anything you want?
Okay. Okay, you have a bad game. we come in the next morning and you're pouting because you weren't happy with your performance and you're dogging it on the ice. And I come out here, I'm like, hey, what's your deal? You're letting the team down. Man up.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Mike, you put me on the spot. But, been there before. I think I'd say, maybe be like, I gave it my all last night. I'm really putting it out there. I'm really going to try to give it everything as practice. And, but at the same time, I had some stuff going through my head last night. And, it'll be great if, maybe after practice we could get a beer or whatever happens and talk about it.
Amazing answer.
Yeah, it was great. Good.
Instead of one, we'll have two. How about that?
Instead of one beer, we'll have two?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant? Yeah.
Yeah.
Self-medication. Way to go, Michael. Telling people, you know what? Drink away all of your problems. Asante, what should people do if you could encourage them? I know that you're at Stella's place. Tell us something that you think is really important for viewers to know about you and your cause.
Stylist place, we are serving young people age 16 to 29. We've been able to take all of our services that were in person and make them virtual. The biggest things that we have going on right now are walk-in counseling, which is accessible virtually. You could go to stylistplace.ca to check out everything that we got going on. The other thing is we have a text app for peer support called Beanbag Chat. And that's running, I think, 6 days a week now. We've extended our hours a bit. We have a lot more support there online. We're getting more and more chats, and we've been able to see very significant positive results for people.
Awesome. Michael, what's on your plate right now? I know you were saying that you were at the food bank, and I said, hey, I'd love to come out there. But you're not dealing with the public, right? Face to face. You're actually you're moving boxes.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of loading, unloading, then using the forklift, and then just going through donations.
Whoa. Using the forklift?
Yeah, add it to the resume.
Oh my God, I could potentially be using a forklift?
I don't know if you're there yet. I'll have to train you maybe.
Okay, well, you know what? It's worth working for. Good for you for doing that. And I went through obviously tons of stuff about you. You've done a lot of things for a lot of people, a lot of causes, a lot of charities, and this was great. And you shared stuff with us that I didn't even anticipate. So I just thought we'd put you on because you had good hair. So clearly you're a lot more than that. Thanks, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Asante, thanks. What a pleasure meeting you. Congratulations. I know you've won a handful of different awards in the mental health space. And just so you know, Asante, I'm coming after you and your awards. Okay? So you're going down, and then I'm taking them, I'm putting them on, I'm wearing them, and I'm obviously kidding. Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you, man. A huge pleasure to be on the show.
Jansen, they're kind of the folks that got all of this rolling, and we appreciate it. They told me don't mention Jansen, but I kind of no one has ever in the past that I can remember really invested in us and said, hey, you know what? We don't care what you do, just do something of use. It's Sick Not Weak. It's Isolation Nation. We're here as long as you need us to be here. Spread the word. That's really important. And a reminder that we'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern time, or we live all day long on Facebook and other platforms. So that's it for today. And remember, look in the mirror and decide, am I part of the stigma? Am I part of the problem? And if you think not, just remember this. The majority of people think that they're not, but they are. And just remember how you always go, oh my God, does everyone forget how to drive in the winter? But no one ever says, I forget how to drive in the winter. Think about that in the context of the stigma. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, by the way, Sean Cullen, let's bring him back. Let's play the last half of that song, the ode to Michael Del Zotto.
Oh, Del Zotto, I wish I was Michael Del Zotto with his scruffy little beard. I think this is getting kind of weird. Oh, Del Zotto, Del Zotto, we all love Michael Del Zotto. He's days with you on the show, and I thought he'd like to know that I love him so. Oh, Michael Del Zotto. Michael Del Zotto.